And one of those does what?
One of these can handle a 60 amp solar panel, an array of solar panels that can draw or produce 60 amps at 150 volts.
Okay.
So by what we've done is we've taken 3 solar panels and put them in series. So they're 24 volt panels, nominal, and they're 8 amp. They can produce up to 8 amps.
Okay.
Okay. By doing them in series, we kicked it up to 105 volts, and then we're still pulling or still able to produce 8 amps of electricity through that.
Okay.
Which the reason we did that is that battery pack is a 48 volt battery pack. Two 24 volt battery or panels are not enough to continue charging that pack
To be
its full.
sustainable.
To be sustainable.
Okay.
So by going with the 3, now we got high enough voltage because it's higher than the battery pack, and we can keep dumping information in or energy in and building and using at the same time.
And so now the pack that you have, the 24.
These are 20. This is 16 cells.
Okay.
They're lithium iron phosphate based. We have our own home built. Well, I'm going to say production built now, battery management system. On the top of each of those cells are little cell boards that send information up to the board that's blinking up on the wall.
Yeah.
That is our battery management system master board.
Okay.
What that does is it has 4 slots in it, and we can operate up to 4 different 12 volt relays. And you'll look down at the bottom, you see the round white thing there?
Yeah.
That's a relay or a contactor. And what we do is we've got our solar panels attached to one side of the contactor. The other side actually comes up into the batteries.
And then the batteries go into
The inverter,
okay.
and then the inverter into the gray off-grid box.
Okay.
Now, what happens
Now wait a
is
minute. The gray off-grid box is another set of panel breaker.
It's an
breaker
AC
panel.
break. It's your standard household AC breaker box.
And how does it talk to the one that was original to the house?
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It's completely.
What it does is, all it does is, it says, I'm receiving power from the inverter, so I'll operate everything until that inverter tells me it can't do it anymore. Then the house just shuts off. Yep. So what happens is,
So you wired the entire house?
well, what we
the
did is
panel?
we took all the 110 volt wires that were on outlets, light switches, the lights themselves, exhaust fans in the bathrooms.
Right.
That was already done in the white box when we bought the house 15 years ago. So what we did is we just took the breaker right out of that, what we call our grid powered box,
Right. And just
moved it over to the off-grid box,
Okay.
and moved those wires straight over at the same time.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
now what we have the ability to do is I can take a breaker out of this box and move into that box. So we can sit here and fine tune this house to maximize the solar panels, the batteries that we have, the auxiliary charger, all that. We can bring all that together and fine tune it to where it runs as efficiently as we can possibly make it.
That is awesome.
Yep.
Wow.
And the reason, part of the reason we're doing this is, yes, I am too. Even if they would have
Exactly,
cut it from
25
35 down to 25,
Yes.
and then down to 15, then down to
Yeah.
10 or whatever.
Yeah.
Stair stepped it down instead of just cutting it all
I
off.
agree. I agree. Especially since the fence was
It would have been great, yeah. So then, when the solar panels are producing so much energy, the batteries can't hold it anymore, and they've reached their top limit.
Right.
Our battery management system shuts that contactor off
Okay.
or disconnects it, and then all of a sudden there's no more charging going on from the solar panel. Even if it's in 1 o'clock in the afternoon,
Right.
it will not overcharge
Are
those
you
batteries.
diverting it back to Duke?
Nope, we are not.
Oh, okay.
The reason is, if I go through and buy all the electronics to do the switching,
Right.
then I got to have another meter, and they're going to charge me another $15 a month.
Yeah.
And by the time I sell that back to the utilities, and that it's a wash. So why bother going through and spending another $3,000 to $5,000 putting all that in if it's not going to do you any good.
Now, how long? Oh, I'm sorry.
No.
I'm just hogging this. I'm so sorry.
Jim's got a solar system as well, and he does sell to the grid. Yeah, or he negotiates with the grid.
So rather than buying the extra hardware for selling it back to the grid, you could actually buy more batteries
Exactly.
and sell it back to yourself.
Create more storage. I can then get my hot water heater running, you know, stuff like that. And that's what we want to do. That's our long range goal.
And your power company said you would have to have a separate meter?
I've heard there are power companies. I haven't checked with the power company
Okay. Yeah,
because
you wanted to.
yeah.
Hands off.
Who's your power company?
Huh?
Who's your power company?
We're going through Lexington Utilities.
Because
Yeah.
Duke has a meter that runs back to us. It's a single meter.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know if they were going to the smart meters or
Oh,
not.
yeah, it is a smart meter, but it effectively runs backwards. I mean, it just adds
Okay.
and subtracts.
Because I'm hearing where some of the smart meters will not run backwards.
Oh, well, this one does.
Yeah, and I've heard where people have had to put 2 meters in.
Yeah.
And, you know, at some point, you don't know what the electric utility is going to do. So they may come back and say, oh, you got a solar system, we need you to put another meter on
Yeah.
now. Because some law changed or something like
Well,
that.
the big deal is right now they're paying retail for the electricity to sell back. And
Right.
there's you know, a big push for them to buy it at wholesale and sell it back at retail. Which
Exactly.
then means you put all your load on during the day instead of at night,
Yes.
like they'd like you to do.
Yes. Exactly. So they're figuring it out as quickly as we're trying to stay ahead of them. They're figuring it out just as quickly, and they're probably gaining a little bit. But like I said, for us, going 100% of off-grid and 100% on-grid. So we call this our hybrid system. And right now, there's just a couple people in the country that are doing it the way we're doing it. Pretty much everybody else that's doing stuff like this are using nothing but lead-acid batteries as well. To give you an idea, the 4 12-volt lithium batteries there, the 16 cells, to do the same amount of lead would take up probably 3 to 4 times as much space as what these lithiums are pulling in.
How much generally per battery? Or
Each cell retails around 155.
that's not bad. Okay, that's what I
Yeah.
was looking at. Then.
And there's
Okay.
16 of them. You're looking at about $2,500 a lithium retail price.
Okay.
Okay. The battery management system, we're right on $30 a cell board. So another 500 there, and about 250 to 300 for the master.
But if you used batteries that were less than 80% of capacity, you would get them at a much lower price, wouldn't you?
Exactly. And that's why with the Doom Buggy, these batteries are about 5 years old, and we've used them in a 32 Ford project we did 5 years ago. And I mean, we drag raced with these lithium cells. So, you know, we're pulling 1,000 amps out of an individual cell for 10 seconds. We've used them in the Doom Buggies. You know, we've got some cells that left over in this motorcycle. You know, we've been using them around. We've been abusing them. In the corner over here, you can see a whole pile of them. There's about 70 cells over there that we've destroyed. Some on purpose, some by accident, but everything's a learning opportunity.
Yeah.
So we know exactly I believe we know exactly what we're doing, why we're doing it, and that's how we arrived at building the battery management system. We've built 288 cell boards. They're being finished this weekend, and then Mike will start programming them. We've got 15 of our battery management boards, the masters, available right now. So it's a matter of just reprogramming them as well. We're going to take this same battery pack and put in that tiny house out there in the driveway.
And what do you expect it to be able to do for the functioning of the house, and what is
Okay.
it that you're going to try to do with it, i.e. central heating and air, many
Right.
air conditioning, some kind of oven?
Yep.
How are you dealing
That's a
with all
great
those?
question. The goal with the tiny house, number one, is when he pulls into a trade show, he's operating everything 100% off batteries.
Okay.
All right? He's still going to have a 5.2 kilowatt array. And he's putting all LEDs in it. Everything as efficiently as we can possibly be. That is a structurally insulated panel system,
Okay,
which means they're taking styrofoam,
right.
they're taking the Blandex board there, the OSB, and they're putting it on both sides. So when you sit there and you go in it, it's either going to be terribly cold or terribly hot. And you have the ability to control that through opening windows. It's got a little solar box right there. He connected that the other day about 3 o'clock in the afternoon. When I came home at 8 o'clock at night, before that was installed, it was cold in there. It was much colder inside than it was outside. But when he connected that up, I could actually go in that tiny house and it was comfortable in a shirt and an undershirt, type clothing. So it made just that much solar heat
Right.
made all the difference in that little house.
Now, how are you gonna convert that when it gets hot in the summer?
You
Because
can do,
that's
yeah.
the easy part.
It
is the summer.
really is. It really
It's the
is
hot.
easy
I mean, the
because
cold.
you do it with shades. You get the windows. You get a couple fans. We can actually run a little air conditioner, just something to take the
Just
chill
keep quiet,
off,
right.
turn
'Cause
it
it'll
off.
hold it so well, so you don't have to have it as a contact
Exactly.
source.
Exactly.
Which mine will not have that luxury because it's not a SIPS panel. It's a basic.
Home insulation and stuff like
yeah,
that.
It's a 2x4. Yeah.
Yep.
So-
And you'd be amazed just like a ceiling fan or just a box fan in a window, how much difference something like that makes.
right.
It,
Right.
It
I mean,
really,
I'm counting on that,
Yes.
obviously, but I'm also planning and right now shopping for my mini split, thinking that a 9,000, the smallest
Yeah.
mini split system with the, I was looking at how much amps it draws and,
Mm-hmm.
what kind of wattage I have to deal with. That and my induction cooktops.
Sure. We actually use a new wave oven. I don't know if you've seen those advertised on TV. They're $200, and we got a second one for just the shipping and handling. Okay, yeah, we bought into
As
it.
seen on TV, I get
But
it.
what we did is we cooked Thanksgiving dinner with that thing, 16-pound turkey, and we cooked it in 2 hours. Where out of a regular oven, it would have taken over 4 to have
Right.
cooked that same turkey.